The chamber was silent, save for the soft hum of the decoding console and the ever-shifting patterns of light that danced across the holographic projection hovering before Kaelen. The final transmission from Solara Prime pulsed with an intensity that seemed almost alive. A symphony of golden and crimson waves intertwined in a language that defied conventional understanding. Kaelen's eyes, sharp and unblinking, traced every oscillation, every subtle modulation of the solar code, knowing that within this radiant cascade lay the culmination of the rogue sun's secret that could change the fate of the fractured galaxy. "It's unlike anything we've seen," Erin whispered from her station, fingers flying over her console as she matched Kaelen's pace. "The patterns are complex, but there's a deeper structure embedded here. Not just messages, but instructions." Kaelen nodded, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. The message was no mere communication. It was a final testament from Solara Prime, encoded in the very fabric of its dying light. As the sun's energy waned, it had poured everything into this last transmission, a revelation that hinted at a weapon. Ancient and formidable, forged by the very creators of the suns themselves. "A weapon," Kaelen murmured, feeling the chill of realization creep through his bones. "Not just a relic, but something designed to tip the scales in the war between suns and their masters." Erin's face grew grim. If this falls into the wrong hands... Before they could delve deeper, the chamber's doors slid open with a resonant hiss. Counselor Murus entered, her presence commanding immediate attention. "Kaelen," she said, voice sharp and unwavering, "the Council demands results. This weapon could be the leverage we need to restore order. Share what you've found." Kaelen turned to face her, the holographic light casting flickering shadows across his determined face. "This knowledge is a double-edged star, Counselor, revealing it could ignite the very conflict we seek to end." Maris's eyes narrowed. "Or it could bring swift resolution, ending the rebellion before it consumes us all." The tension between them was palpable, a microcosm of the galaxy's fractured alliances and conflicting ambitions. Kaelen felt the pull of duty and conscience, the burden of a secret that could save or destroy. That night, beneath the dim glow of the observation deck, Kaelen stood alone, gazing into the remnants of Solara Prime's fading light. The silence was profound, broken only by the distant echoes of stellar winds. Each pulse of dying energy carried the echoes of rebellion, hope, and despair. He thought of the suns, their sentience, their struggle, their creators, and of the fragile balance that hung in the void. The weapon was not just a tool. It was a legacy, a testament to the power and peril of cosmic creation. "What am I to do with this gift and curse?" Kaelen whispered to the empty sky, the question echoing in the vastness. In the following days, the political landscape shifted dramatically. Factions within the Council and among the Suns pressed Kaelen for answers. Their motives as varied as the stars themselves. Trust eroded, alliances fractured, and the spectre of all-out war loomed larger than ever. Yet amidst the turmoil, Kaelen found solace in his partnership with Erin. Together, they worked tirelessly, decoding every nuance of the transmission, searching for a path that might avert catastrophe. As the chapter closed, Kaelen's resolve hardened. The final transmission had shown him the precipice upon which the galaxy stood, a choice between destruction and hope. With the secret weapon's deadly promise weighing heavily on his conscience, Kaelen prepared to make a decision that would echo across the stars for generations to come. The dying light of Solara Prime was not just an end, it was a beginning, and Kaelen was the reluctant bearer of its ultimate truth. The council chamber was cloaked in shadows, the only illumination coming from the soft glow of holographic projections dancing in the air. Kaelen stood rigid, eyes locked on Leora, as the truth spilled forth like molten light. The diplomat's calm mask fractured, revealing cold calculation beneath. "You betrayed us," Kaelen said, voice taut with disbelief. Leora's lips curled in a thin smile. "I did what was necessary to preserve balance. The rebellion threatens to consume everything." The accusation hung heavy, fracturing the fragile trust Kaelen had clung to. Outside the chamber, Illyra's fingers flew over the neural interface, rerouting communications with a frantic precision. "They are intercepting our messages," she warned, eyes darting between streams of data. "If we don't act now, the entire network will collapse." Kaelen nodded, the weight of betrayal making every decision more perilous. "We need to isolate the saboteurs before their damage becomes irreversible." Meanwhile, Commander Rilos stood before a gathering of rebel sons, his voice echoing across the amphitheater. "Enemies hide within our ranks," he declared, eyes burning with fury. "We must purge the traitors to secure our future." His words ignited a firestorm of fervor among the assembly, a dangerous fervor that threatened to fracture the rebellion from within. Later, Kaelen retreated to the observation deck, the vast expanse of the fractured galaxy stretching before him. The dying light of distant suns cast long shadows, a stark reminder of the stakes at hand. As the wind whispered through the open port, Kaelen wrestled with the fracturing loyalties, the betrayal cutting deeper than any wound. Yet amidst the melancholy, a steely resolve took root. The path forward was treacherous, but surrender was not an option. The night stretched on, punctuated by the distant hum of starships and the faint pulse of solar energy. Kaelen's thoughts churned with questions and doubts, but one truth remained clear. In a galaxy ruled by sentient suns, trust was the rarest and most precious commodity. As dawn approached, the linguists steeled themselves for the battles yet to come, knowing that the fate of the rebellion and the galaxy hinged on the fragile bonds of fractured loyalties. The threads of alliance twisted unpredictably, and Kaelen could only wonder who would stand steadfast when the final reckoning arrived. The dying light flickered once more, a silent herald of the storm gathering on the horizon. The void beyond the observation deck blazed with an unearthly light, the distant suns pulsing in synchrony like a cosmic heartbeat. Kaelen stood motionless, eyes fixed on the radiant spheres undulating with complex patterns of light and energy. Each pulse carried meaning, a language older than any spoken word, yet fraught with raw emotion and urgent intent. These were the rebel suns, once silent giants of the fractured galaxy, now rising in defiance against their ancient creators. The air within the station was thick with tension. Delegates from planetary factions and loyalist suns crowded into the conference hall, their faces etched with a mixture of fear, suspicion, and hope. Kaelen moved between them, a slender figure caught in the eye of a growing storm. With practiced ease, the linguist translated the sun's cryptic pulses into words, bridging a chasm between celestial consciousness and mortal politics. "The suns are calling," Kaelen announced, voice steady despite the undercurrent of urgency. "Their message is clear: autonomy and rebellion. They seek to reclaim their destiny, free from the shackles imposed by the creators." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Leora, leader of a planetary faction sympathetic to the rebel cause, stepped forward, her green eyes burning with determination. "We cannot ignore their call. The old order has oppressed the suns and our worlds for too long. This is our chance to stand with them." Opposing her, Varni's envoy of the loyalist suns folded his arms. "Rebellion only brings destruction. The sun's creators established order for a reason. Chaos will consume us all if this uprising proceeds unchecked. Kaelen raised a hand, seeking calm. The suns communicate not just defiance, but fear. Their pulses reveal memories of pain and hope intertwined. They do not wish for needless bloodshed, but for recognition and respect. Later, in the solitude of a dimly lit chamber, Kaelen engaged in a private communion with one of the rebel sons. The voice was unlike any sound heard before, flowing cascade of solar pulses that resonated deep within the mind. Here, Kaelen perceived the sun's anguish, its yearning for freedom and its dread of annihilation. It spoke of ancient chains broken only by unity and understanding. This intimate exchange left Kaelen shaken yet resolute. The rebellion was not mere insurrection. It was a plea for survival and identity. Suddenly, a violent surge rocked the station. Outside, a nearby star flared in a brilliant burst, signaling the commencement of the sun's coordinated uprising. The entire station trembled, alarms blaring as delegates scrambled to their posts. "This is it," Kaelen murmured, heart pounding. "The galaxy stands on the edge of war, and I am the bridge between worlds that speak in light and those that speak in fear." As the sun's radiant defiance spread across the void, Kaelen faced the daunting task of uniting fractured souls before the dying light consumed all hope. The rebel sun's call had been heard. Now, the question remained, would the galaxy answer with war or peace? The journey ahead promised no easy answers, only the relentless pulse of rebellion echoing through the stars. The observation deck was silent, save for the faint hum of the station's life support systems. Kaelen stood alone before the vast viewport, eyes fixed on the dying light of Solara Prime. The once brilliant sun flickered weakly, its corona reduced to an erratic shimmer, casting ghostly tendrils of pale gold and crimson into the abyss. The vastness of space seemed to swallow the fragile glow, a dying beacon in a fractured galaxy. A cold ache settled deep within Kaelen's chest. The solar consciousness that had reached across light years, whispering secrets of rebellion and lost wars, was fading. It was as though the sun itself was breathing its last, and with it, the hope of understanding the galaxy's fractured past and uncertain future. The motif of dying light was no longer an abstract concept. It was a palpable presence that pressed against the walls of Kaelen's mind. The door chimed softly, pulling Kaelen from the reverie. Mira entered quietly, her amber eyes reflecting the faint glow of the distant star. "The council awaits," she said, voice gentle but firm. "Virik's not pleased with your progress or lack thereof." Kaelen nodded, turning away from the window. "They fear what the truth might bring." Myra's gaze held a mixture of sympathy and resolve. "And yet, they need you. We all do." Together, they made their way to the council chamber, the corridors dimly lit by energy conduits that pulsed with a rhythm reminiscent of a heartbeat. The tension was tangible as they entered. Councillor Virik stood at the head of the room, his silver-streaked hair catching the light of the chamber's solar arrays. His eyes were sharp, his demeanor unyielding. Kaelen Virik began, his voice echoing against the austere walls. "Your mission borders on recklessness. Your pursuit of this rogue sun's message threatens the fragile stability we have maintained since the last fracture." Kaelen met his gaze steadily. Stability built on fear and ignorance is no stability at all. Solara Prime's message holds the key to understanding our past and shaping our future. A murmur of dissent rippled through the council members. Virik's expression darkened. The suns are not meant to challenge their creators, nor to rebel. Your translations provoke unrest among the lesser suns and planetary factions alike. And yet silence will only delay the inevitable reckoning, Kaelen countered. We must face the light and shadow of our history if we are to survive the coming storm. The chamber erupted in debate, voices rising in a cacophony of fear, hope, and accusation. Amid the turmoil, Kaelen felt the weight of personal doubts creep in the memories of past failures, the faces of those lost to the conflict, and the precariousness of their mission. Later, in the quiet sanctuary of a dimly lit chamber, Mira and Kaelen huddled over a holographic solar map. The swirling patterns of light and energy pulses danced before them, a language as beautiful as it was impenetrable. "Do you ever wonder if we're chasing shadows?" Mira whispered. Kaelen's fingers traced a delicate pattern of light. Every message is a fragment of truth. The suns speak in ways we're only beginning to understand. Their consciousness is vast, their pain profound. A sudden shimmer filled the room. Before them materialized the spectral form of Solara Prime's echo, radiant and ethereal. The figure's shifting light cast dancing shadows on the walls, its voice a melodic resonance that vibrated through the air. "Sacrifice is the crucible of renewal," it intoned. "From dying light, new dawns emerge. The path is perilous, but hope endures." Kaelen reached out instinctively, the warmth of the apparition touching a place deeper than the skin. The message was clear. Though darkness threatened to engulf the galaxy, the promise of rebirth remained. As the vision faded, Kaelen's resolve hardened. The personal demons, the fear of loss, the weight of responsibility were formidable, but they were not insurmountable. The rebellion was not merely a struggle against cosmic forces, but a testament to the enduring spirit of life and consciousness. Outside, Solara Prime's light flickered once more before waning into the void. The galaxy held its breath, balanced precariously between despair and hope, between light and shadow. Kaelen stepped back from the fading star, ready to face the storm that loomed on the horizon, knowing that within the dying light lay the seeds of a new beginning. The shadows deepened, but so did the light. And in that balance, the fate of the fractured galaxy would be decided. The cold vacuum of space stretched endlessly beyond the viewport of the starship. But Kaelen's gaze was fixed elsewhere, on the coordinates that had led him and Ira to the forgotten world known only in ancient star charts as Neres Prime. The planet, long abandoned by its people, was rumored to house relics of the sun's creators, remnants that could illuminate the shadowed origins of solar consciousness. As their ship descended through the thin atmosphere, a terrain of jagged black stone came into view, bathed in the dim light of distant stars. The ruins sprawled before them like the skeleton of a long-dead leviathan, carved with precision and artistry that defied time. Stepping out onto the rocky ground, Kaelen felt the weight of silence pressing down, a silence that was almost reverent. The ruins whispered secrets in languages older than any spoken tongue, their surfaces etched with solar glyphs that pulsed faintly, as if alive. Ira's amber eyes scanned the carvings with a historian's precision, her fingers tracing the worn symbols that had once carried profound meaning. "These glyphs," she murmured, "they speak of a covenant, of a pact between the stars and those who breathed life into them." Kaelen nodded, his mind racing. The message from Solara Prime had hinted at forgotten wars and ancient alliances, but the fragments left much to interpretation. Here, in the heart of the ruins, clarity seemed within reach. The central chamber loomed ahead, its vastness swallowed by shadows. As they entered, the floor beneath them shimmered faintly. Kaelen knelt, fingertips brushing over the carvings that began to glow softly with energy. Suddenly, a holographic map unfolded before their eyes, a celestial diagram depicting networks of suns connected by threads of light. and figures that resembled the creators themselves, ethereal beings woven from starlight and thought. "These are the architects," Kaelen whispered, awestruck. "Not gods, but engineers of cosmic consciousness." Before they could delve deeper, the air shifted. A low mechanical growl echoed through the chamber as the guardian sentinel stirred from its slumber. Its obsidian surface rippled with light, eyes igniting with a deep amber glow. Towering and imposing, it moved with surprising grace to block their passage. "A test," Ira breathed. "A sentinel to guard knowledge." Kaelen's heart quickened. The puzzle was clear. To proceed, he had to engage with the ancient languager, language not just written, but alive in the very light that danced across the ruins. Drawing upon years of study, he deciphered the complex interplay of symbols. Each pulse of light a syllable, each shifting pattern a phrase. The sentinel's gaze remained fixed, awaiting his response. Minutes stretched like hours until finally the glyphs aligned and the sentinel stepped aside, acknowledging Kaelen's mastery. Beyond the threshold lay the final chamber, where the culmination of their quest awaited. Here Kaelen found a radiant glyph depicting a cosmic pacta, binding agreement between the suns and their creators. Forged in an era when the galaxy was young, it spoke of purpose. The suns were not merely celestial bodies, but sentient guardians, bestowed with consciousness to foster balance and harmony across the cosmos. The revelation struck Kaelen to his core. The rebellion, long framed as a fight for autonomy, now bore new dimensions. The sun's sentience was woven into the fabric of cosmic order itself, a design both delicate and profound. As the chamber filled with warm, radiant light, Kaelen's thoughts raced. How would this knowledge reshape the rebellion? Could the sun's creators still influence the galaxy's fate? And what role was he to play in the unfolding saga? Outside, the distant stars flickered, their light echoing the ancient pact newly remembered. Kaelen stood resolute, ready to carry these echoes of the past into the uncertain dawn ahead. "We have the truth," he said quietly to Ira. "Now we must decide what to do with it." Her eyes met his, steady and unwavering. "The future is ours to shape." And with that, the echoes of Solara's ancient past began to ripple through the fractured galaxy once more, heralding a new chapter in the story of light and rebellion. The battle ignited with a fury that seemed to echo the very forces that birthed the stars themselves. Near the luminous expanse of the Viridian star system, fleets gathered like swarms of fireflies, sun-aligned vessels shimmering with the power of their radiant masters. The void was alive with the crackle of energy pulses, the roar of solar engines, and the sharp commands exchanged across comm channels. Kaelen's heart raced as he stood aboard the bridge of Mara Tissel's ship, the Lumen Hawk, his fingers trembling slightly as he manipulated the holographic interface displaying the chaotic battlefield. "We cannot let this spiral out of control," Kaelen urged, voice steady despite the pounding in his chest. "The stakes are too high, not just for the factions, but for the entire galaxy." Mara, seated at the helm, glanced at him with a mixture of exhaustion and resolve. "You're the only one who can reach them, Kaelen. The suns won't listen to anyone else." Outside the viewport, the horizon burned with violent cascades of solar flares. Ships darted between the coruscating beams, their hulls reflecting bursts of incandescent light. The loyalist forces, led by Solus Fran, radiated a golden brilliance that contrasted sharply with the rebel sun's vessels, which glowed with fiery reds and oranges under Illyra Nesh's command. The very fabric of space seemed to tremble under the weight of their power. Kaelen activated the comm channel, his voice cutting through the static. "Solus Fran, Illyra Neshis, conflict will destroy more than just fleets. Think of the systems caught in the crossfire, the civilizations on the brink. We must find another way. Static answered him first, then Solace's voice, deep and commanding, responded. Your words lack the weight of power, linguist. This is a war of survival and sovereignty. Illyria's reply was sharp, almost a hiss. The ancient order must fall. We will not be shackled by the Creator's legacy any longer. Kaelen swallowed hard, feeling the futility of diplomacy weighed against the blazing convictions of the suns. Yet, he persisted, weaving the ancient solar codes into his transmission splees, wrapped in the subtle language of light and energy he had painstakingly deciphered. His message was a beacon of reason amid the storm. Suddenly, a massive solar flare erupted from a nearby sun, its tendrils of plasma arcing like fiery serpents toward the rebel fleet. Explosions blossomed in the void, petals of light fracturing in the darkness. The shockwave rocked the Lumenhawk, throwing Mara against the console. Brace for impact, she shouted, steadying herself. Kaelen gripped the railing, eyes fixed on the swirling chaos. Despite the destruction, Kaelen's transmissions continued, each pulse a thread of hope woven through the tapestry of war. Moments later, a temporary ceasefire flickered into existence as both sides hesitated, caught in the glow of the solar tempest's aftermath. In that fragile lull, Kaelen seized the moment to broadcast a deeper message, reminder of their shared history, the ancient bonds between suns and mortals, and the devastating cost of endless conflict. His words echoed through the void, resonating with the solar consciousnesses themselves. Illyria's voice came through again, quieter this time. Perhaps there is reason in your words, linguist, but the path to peace is fraught with sacrifice. Solace's response was measured, tinged with a reluctant respect. We will consider your message, Kaelen, but know that the horizon burns bright, and with it, the fate of us all. As the battle's fires dimmed to embers, Kaelen looked out over the star system, the burning horizon casting long shadows. The war was far from over, but the spark of dialogue had been lit a fragile hope amid the dying light. The galaxy held its breath. Kaelen's thoughts drifted to the ancient solar codes embedded deep within the message from Solara Prime. The revelation of a forgotten war had already shaken the foundations of power. But it was this moment, this battle, that would decide the trajectory of the rebellion. His role as translator, mediator, and witness was more critical than ever. Mara approached quietly, her voice low and steady. You did well, Kaelen. We bought some time today. He nodded, the weight of responsibility settling heavier on his shoulders. Time is the only currency we have left. Behind him, the holograms shimmered a swirling dance of light and shadow, reflecting the fragile balance between destruction and renewal. The sun's powers, vast and incomprehensible, clashed with human resolve and hope. The burning horizon was not just a battlefield, it was a crucible, and from its fires, a new dawn might yet emerge. As the Lumenhawk slipped away from the fading conflict, Kaelen prepared to face the next chapter of a war that would reshape the galaxy's very soul. The echoes of Solara Prime's message pulsed within him, a call to action that could not be ignored. And somewhere, beyond the horizon, the suns waited, watching, burning, and longing for a future born from the dying light. The war was only beginning.